So let's now get a sense of what the Labour thinking is on some of the big issues. Emily Thornberry, Shadow Secretary of State for Trade. Emily Thornberry, welcome. Let me ask you, first of all, about these price caps.
Yeah.
All week, the big energy-intensive industries, the cement makers, the steel makers, the paper makers, the glass makers, have been saying, we need a price cap too. Do you agree with them?
They have been saying we need something. There has been a debate as to exactly what it is should happen. I think that what's important is that Kwasi Kwarteng listens to what it is that business says. There is a certain amount of kind of briefing going on behind the scenes where Kwasi Kwarteng is saying warm words, you know, quite like this, got to get it past the Treasury. The truth is we need to have a plan and they need to get on with it. But also the truth is we shouldn't be in a situation where we wait until there's a crisis and then react. We need to have proper planning.
I'm sure that's true, but we are in this situation
right now.
We're in this situation right now.
In the seat before me, right, was a guy from an energy company who said, what we should have is a Department for Energy and Climate Change. Now, excuse me, I was in that department, and what we said we should, and what we were doing was, we were making sure there were new nuclear power stations. We were making sure that we had gas storage. We were making sure that we were insulating homes. All of these things were happening. We were making sure there was offshore and onshore wind. Hang on, this is really important.
I know it's important, but we are where we are now.
Yeah, I know.
And
but as opposition, it is fair for us to say that when we were in power, these were the plans we had. The government cut those. We now have another wave of crisis. This government has wave after wave of crisis. And then I'm asked to come on and say, well, if you were in this situation, what would you do tomorrow? And I think it's only fair to make that point.
Sure, but it's also only fair for me on the other side of the table to ask whether you're in favour of a price cap for industry.
Yeah, and my answer is that what we need to be doing is listening to business, and frankly, if there's a strong case being made, we need to take it seriously. And I hope the next person sitting in this chair will tell you what his plan is.
Yes, but you can't tell me yes or no to that.
I can tell you that we are having meetings with industry, and we are considering what the best way forward is as far as we're concerned, but we also want to make the point that we should not be in a position where we're always having to respond at the very last minute to crises. And then for the government to be saying that it's all part of a cunning plan, you know, there are all these people queuing up at petrol stations, shortages in the supermarkets, all part of a cunning plan, and they want to change Britain, is the biggest example of chutzpah I've heard for a very long time.
Well, here's another thing where I think you probably can give me a clear answer. The so-called green levy. So that's the levy on bills, currently mainly electricity bills, to ensure that people change away from carbon-emitting fuel and heating to different kinds of more green fuel and heating. And there is a proposal that should move from electricity onto gas bills.
Yes.
What is the Labour view?
Yes. So the Labour view is that there are a number of strands to this. The first thing is that we would not in current circumstances, well, of course we wouldn't be starting here, but we would not be allowing for the universal credit cut. £20 is basically the amount of money that most below average households pays in their fuel bills. So we certainly would not be taking £20 away from families each week. That's the first thing.
These levies are really big, and I just want to know whether you would keep them on for, you know, the net zero goals and all the rest of it.
The next thing that one needs to do is one needs to make sure that houses are properly insulated. And if they had continued with our programme of greener homes over the last 11 years, then we would have huge numbers of homes, millions of homes, that would now be insulated. Because you can have the greenest type of fuel coming into your home, but if it's going straight out the window, it doesn't do anybody any good.
All true. I was asking you a very straightforward question. All true, but I was asking you... Let me ask you about something else. I talked to your leader, Keir Starmer, a couple of weeks ago, and he said he thought that if it was necessary, 100,000 visas should go for HGV drivers to come into the economy. Do you agree with him?
I think that in the short term, we need to make sure that we have enough people doing the jobs.
So,
it isn't just HGV. There are obviously, as you know, there's a large number of other things. And
so I was going to ask you particularly about social care, where it's away from the headlines, but there's 120,000 vacancies in the social care industry in this country. Do you think the visas should be available for them?
I believe that is what the government will do. And I think that what they will do is not just look to Europe, they will look internationally, and they will be bringing people in. And what they will also be finding is there will be greater numbers of vacancies because they're insisting that everybody has a vaccine.
So that would be 220,000 people coming in.
Well, I don't know for sure.
And what about hospitality, where there's 180,000 vacancies?
Listen, what we need to do is we need to have a proper plan. We have been telling the government that it's all very well delivering on Brexit, but you have to make Brexit work. And there are a number of ways that you need to be looking at. And we are warning them that they need a proper strategy.
But it's a direct question about the number of visas that Labour would give to allow these shortages and these real problems in the economy and the social economy not to happen. Well, Boris Johnson says, I won't pull that lever. Would Labour pull that lever?
What I would say is that we have a much more... I don't believe that when people voted for Brexit, they voted for us to stop having any immigration at all. I just don't believe that. I believe that what they voted for was for our politicians to be responsible for making those decisions. And they need to be making responsible decisions in a strategic way, and they're simply not.
All right, Emily Thornberry, thanks very much indeed for coming in and talking to us. Now,